All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Brand Builder TV, where we want to share with you how to brand in 2020 versus 2004. The biggest difference, right? 2004, it's what you knew and who you knew. 2020, it's what you know, who you know, but who knows you. So it's so important in today's world to understand where you're at. I'm excited for this episode. It took us a few times, but we finally got there, Daisy. We made it happen.
We got
That's
there.
the entrepreneurial DNA, girl. We just figure it out as we go. So we were going to have Daisy on yesterday, but it wound up to work out better today. So I'm pumped. I'm excited. I was looking at your profile here on LinkedIn, and we got some highlights. We're going to talk about them. Awesome. I'm excited. Daisi Jo Pollard. Help me out.
Sepúlveda.
Okay. What nationality is
that? Spanish.
Awesome. So, founder and author of My Product Model. We'll talk about that. I'll let you discuss that. And then founder of Daisi Media Corp. Love to learn more about that. Brazen Influencers. Love it. I love that. And then NYU. Stern School of Business. Awesome profile here. Very impressed. Love it. So without any further ado, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Give us that 30,000 foot view, right? Where you came from, where you're at now, and where you see yourself going. And then we're going to chunk down, and then we're going to talk about in today's world, what you need to do to leverage your personal and your business brand and how important that is. And then I'll let you talk about some of your things that you have going on here. Cool?
Sure. Awesome. Yeah, definitely. So my background. So as you can see on my LinkedIn profile, in 2005, I was Miss Jamaica International. I competed in some of the top pageants in the world, in China, Japan, the Philippines, Malaysia, and in the US. And speaking of building your brand, I was really able to leverage that opportunity and build a brand for myself. And it's funny that you mentioned 2004 because that's where it all started for me. And, that was the beginning of like social media, MySpace, all that stuff. And so because of the pageants, I was able to build a very robust social media platform profile for myself. Through MySpace and then Facebook and YouTube, now Instagram, all that, and I really credit that, just the right timing of that, to being able to launch a business and create a personal brand and do television, do film, do the internet, which I really fell in love with the internet, and I was very early, so like building my own platform online, owning my own domains, which is really important, having my own brand website for awareness, so you can always go back to, who was Miss Jamaica 2005? It was me, Daisy, and everything else. So I always say the world showed me the internet, and I showed the world myself in a way. And I was just really interested in just leveraging the power of reaching a lot of people without having to go through traditional channels, like waiting for someone to choose you, a gatekeeper to choose you, to do something, whether it's in entertainment or whether it was in business or whatever. I didn't want to wait to be chosen because you don't really know the criteria that the gatekeepers are looking for at the time, and the needle is always moving in terms of what they want, and then you have to fit into that mold. And that applies for like every industry, not just entertainment, but also for business, also if you're a startup and you're looking for funding and that kind of thing. And obviously in the startup world, I wasn't the right gender, didn't have the right color skin and all that other stuff, even though I went to NYU and everything. And I just didn't want to never wanted to work for anyone else. So that there was only one way. And that way was to build my platform, starting with me and starting with whatever tools that were available at that time. And then I just kept going ever since. So I've never really stopped.
So you just have that entrepreneurial DNA. I get it.
Yeah, definitely.
I tell people once they kicked me out of high school, I realized I had the entrepreneurial DNA. So I love that because you did start building your personal brand and that level of awareness in where the landscape was at the time in 2004, like MySpace and things like that. It's wild, man. It just seems so long ago, doesn't it?
I know. It just seems
wild.
so long ago.
I know. When someone says MySpace, it's like, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. But I love that because I'm such a firm believer, and I'd love for you to go a little deeper on this because you're actually the perfect guest for this, is 2004. Now, maybe not your niche or your industry or your thing, but as business, right? Say like a commission based salesperson or a small to medium sized business owner. Back in the day, 2004, 2004, right? And I just pull that year out of the air. It was really important to build your business brand a lot of times, right? And maybe your personal brand will follow or something like that. But I think it's flip-flop now. I think because of social media, and you use the perfect title, the gatekeeper, right? There is no gatekeeper now. You could DM anybody on Instagram, right?
Yes.
You can. So
everybody's famous.
Yes. No, it's funny when
everybody's
I speak,
famous.
Isn't it so? When I speak from stage, I say, how many people here are on a social media platform? And 99%, right? Raise their hand. At least Facebook and or Twitter. I say, whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not, you're a global brand.
Yeah.
And that's the real. But I'd love for you to share. Eventually, I want you to share your thoughts on 2020 and the difference. But leveraging your personal brand, which became, I imagine, became your business brand, your personal brand.
Yeah, through a couple of iterations and pivots, and and basically trying shit that didn't work, and then eventually.
That's
so
it.
Basically,
Yes, trial and error, right? And that's the entrepreneurial DNA. That's why it's not for everybody, right?
It's not for everyone, and it's not. But I commend people that try, and I really do applaud people that try and figure out that it's not for them, and they get out of the way.
Yes. I love that. And also, when we joke about it, the struggles and everything, and it's not for everybody. But then on the flip side, when you understand that it is your DNA, working for somebody is not even an option. You might as well just hold me underwater. I'll choke.
Definitely. I like to look at it this way. Like when I first started, I always knew that working for somebody else wasn't going to work for me. When I was in high school, I started modeling very young, right? And I was like in middle school or something. And then when I got to high school, I decided that, I love makeup and I'm going to work at a makeup counter, right? And so I got a job in the mall working behind the makeup counter. And I loved that because I was in a learning mode. I was learning so much, and I got to take a lot of product home. They gave me tons and tons of free products. And I got to like deconstruct the packaging and the product itself and all the makeup and try different stuff and, make myself look crazy and all that stuff. But then after that, I was bored with retail, and I learned everything I needed to know, and I moved on. And every job that I had like part-time in high school after that, I was just like, I'm not doing this out of high school at all. And once I left high school, I went to New York to model in Miami and South Africa and London and stuff. And I never had another job. I wouldn't say a real job. Modeling is very much a real job, but I never took another job working for someone else.
A traditional.
And then when I came to California, because I was in New York, when I came to California for a brief period, I worked at a gym. I was a personal trainer at a gym. And then I worked at like some of the older modeling schools like Barbizon and John Robert Powers and everything. And I guess there was a certain amount of autonomy that came with those roles, and that's why I chose them. Mm-hmm. But I just remember having like a really big chip on my shoulder. This was like early, like 2003, 2004. This was before the Mr. Jamaica stuff. And I remember having a big chip on my shoulder because I knew something that everybody else there didn't know. They didn't know what the fuck they wanted to do with their lives. They were like, maybe I'll continue doing this. They had no idea how to create their own path, right? And how to take control of whatever the situation was around them, whether it was that they didn't like their employer, they didn't like where they were, how much money they were making. They had no imagination for what they could be. And I think the biggest thing about entrepreneurs is that there's a lot of imagination that has to take place. First of all, you have to be able to visualize yourself in a place that you don't know how the fuck you're getting there. I hope I can curse on your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You don't know how the fuck you're going to get there, but you have to have enough imagination to see it, right? To visualize it and to trick yourself into believing that it's real. And then you have to have more imagination to create the path, like reverse engineer the path to get there. Okay. Which is like, it's creativity, it's battle, it's warfare, it's it's marketing, it's like scandal, it's all these things together, because you really have to be able to have like a toolkit of things that you can utilize on your journey. And when I describe entrepreneurship like that, people think I'm a little like cuckoo, but really it is that. And you really do have to have that kind of mentality to get there.
100%. I mean, I couldn't have said any better. And the other thing is that level of belief, right? When other people in the outside world or the inner circle is saying you're crazy, right? You must be out of your mind. Like, I moved here from New Jersey, and in 2000,
I was born in New Jersey.
Girl, where at?
East Coast.
Where at? Oh yeah, East Coast all the way. Where at?
Newark.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I spent time up there in Newark. I'm a little further down in South Jersey. My family's from South Philly.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I moved out here in 2008, I didn't know what business I was going to do. Long story short, I bought a struggling sports nutrition store here in North County, San Diego. The worst economy we knew since November 2008, I signed the contract. Worst economy we knew since the Depression. And my other businesses that I built and sold were all service-based, right? This was the first retail. And everyone thought I was out of my mind. But I thought I saw some things, branding and marketing, that I could bring to the table. And a lot of sweat, blood, and tears. Within the first year and a half, we tripled the numbers. And by 2012, the spring of 2012, it made sense to flip it. But it's so much of the entrepreneurial journey is wearing those, being able to have those fog lights on, right? When everyone else can't see it, you have those fog lights that get you through. And that's so vitally important. So I love that. We're definitely right here when it comes.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. And you know instantly. You just know the way people carry themselves, the verbiage that they use. They either been there or they haven't.
Yes, true.
Right? So I want to talk about a few things that you have going on, but I want to get your take on branding and marketing, which you shared with us a little bit in 2004, 5, 6, but now, right, coming into 2020, 21, 22, what are some of the differences and changes and evolution that you've witnessed?
Okay, so first of all, video is, if you thought in 2018, people were saying, oh, video is the number one. 2020 video is the number one thing. So
let me stop you there. Now, the reason now I got to share this. This is so perfect. So remember, I said she was going to be on yesterday, but she decided today. So she showed up without video, and I go, there's no way we are getting you on video, right?
Yes,
because I love that you went there, right? Because
so let me tell you, I was getting my shit together today. I was like, damn, I got an hour. Let me do my makeup.
I love it. Here's what else, on a side note, that I love is I love doers, right? I love people that make it happen, and you literally and do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it. And when we hung up, seconds later, I see the email that says you booked your I'm like, I love that.
It's an opportunity to promote myself, let me tell you.
And that's, you know what that is? We're very blessed about born and raised on the East Coast. I'm just saying.
Yes.
We have that hustle.
it's like Game of Thrones out here.
It's,
okay, winter is coming. Right?
We got that hustle. I mean, yeah. But I love that. So go a little deeper, right, on 2020, 21, 22 about video and about what's going on.
So first of all, video is going to be even more important. And when you thought, if you thought it was important in 2019, it was an alternative in 2019. It was an option. It was a plus one. If you did an IG video, IGTV, then great, right? But now it's the gold standard. First of all, we have a platform, TikTok, which is exclusively video.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're not willing to make videos on camera, like if you aren't willing to make videos on and to be on that platform, then that's automatically eliminating a lot of influencers. Okay, so for example, influencers, knowledge experts, right? Subject knowledge experts. If you aren't willing to be on camera and make video, then that platform is out for you. So you're cutting your audience off, right? Especially if you want to reach younger people. And I think TikTok is starting off as a music dance app, but I don't think that's where they're going to finish. And I think you're going to see them diversify in content like this year. And I think that's why I have some insider knowledge that they're onboarding and incentivizing a lot of influencers, meaning paying a lot of influencers to create profiles on the channel. So if you haven't gotten your username, if you haven't gotten your username yet, you should get it now.
I got it. I got it.
I think, people are all wrapped up in the socio-political issue of Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. You know what? Throw that shit out the window. I think Facebook, first of all, isn't going anywhere. It employs too many people, number one. Number two, there's too many people on the platform, and there's too many businesses in America that depend on the platform in order to advertise their businesses, and there's no replacement for that, and there's no supplement for that. That means that if you get rid of Facebook, there's a huge hit to the economy. Okay, so that's number two. Also with Instagram, so many e-commerce platforms are integrated into Instagram and for their sales, and they depend on like a huge amount of their sales. So I think like $3 billion was done on mobile sales this past Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And so a lot of those were converted through Instagram or through Shopify's app that integrates with Instagram. So you can't get rid of Instagram either, because it's embedded into the economy and it's embedded into our culture in a very important and fundamental way. So you can't get rid of those. Okay, so all of that stuff, if you're in business, you're trying to market yourself, you're trying to start an e-commerce business or whatever, and you're worried about, oh, what if Facebook goes away? What if Instagram goes away? They're not going anywhere. Okay, so and I doubt that, another thing I will say is that I doubt that you're going to have to worry about TikTok taking over Instagram or anything like that. And the reason why is because TikTok is a Chinese-based company. There's a whole Chinese US thing going on, and there's a privacy aspect of it. So, but the two platforms are going to coexist together. And I think Snapchat is going to make a return. And
you really?
They are the most innovative social media platform. Actually, they're free. They're not number one and they're not number two. So they're free to like experiment all day long. And so that gives them freedom to iterate and figure out stuff and fail many times without anybody really paying attention to them. So I do think they have a good chance in the next year to come out with a new product, to ship a new product that is going to be really impressive and might take some market share, might just get people talking again.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think I believe for sure Instagram is definitely none of them are going anywhere, like you said. But Instagram, I'm really looking forward to see where TikTok goes. And for me personally, where my focus is going to be for Dave Daily International in 2020-21, my real focus is going to be YouTube. It's going to be YouTube.
Yes, also YouTube. Yes.
It's going to be YouTube. That to me, like I love Instagram. I'm just starting to get familiar with TikTok, right? I'm figuring, trying to figure this thing out. Looking real dumb, right? Trying to figure it out.
Did you do a dance video yet with TikTok?
Hey, I take salsa and bachata. I posted one of those. I did a bachata.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Listen, I say that I should back up and say I should say that very lightly so I don't offend salsa dancers. It ain't pretty. But it's a lot of fun. I did a video. I had someone do a video when I was doing bachata lessons. So I think when you're talking about video, 1000%, and I just know that YouTube is just such an awesome place if it's in your DNA, right?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I want to really talk about too when it comes to branding and marketing in 2020 versus 2004, because I have you on here because you've been there and you've done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're figuring out how to grow. Because I always say, look, the evolution train is leaving with or without you.
Yes.
You're either getting on or it's running you over.
Yes. Yep. And the thing about it is that if you're not on any of these platforms and if you're not participating, you literally don't exist.
You don't.
And I'll give you an example. So in my household, my boyfriend is not a social media person. He's an investor and he's a money guy. He's behind the scenes and that's his thing. And but because of that, he doesn't participate in social media. He doesn't participate in Instagram. He has some of his businesses have Instagrams, but he does not engage with them. Like you just don't know. I have to post a picture of him, and then for his friends to know that he exists, and his friends follow me. Yeah. So like at least once a month, I have to like take a selfie and be like, "Babe, pose," and then be like, "Here he is. He's alive. Look, he's healthy. He's well." Right.
Right.
Yeah. But and I think that's a lot of people. Like, if you're not participating in this, then you don't exist in a way, and that's sad for a lot of people that want to be seen in the world, right? But they're just not familiar or don't feel comfortable in front of a camera. But this is our export of our culture, right, to the world. So what you're seeing from a US based, if you're a business, if you're a personality or a person, you think about it this way. With all the international conversations that are going on, all the social conversations and political conversations that are going on, if you want the world to see America a certain way, you are a part of that. You are part of that image. And when you're creating content and you're putting it out on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or whatever, you are actually saying, I'm a cultural and social economic export of America.
100%,
and I'm part of representing that, right? And so that is part of it, right? So we are, and I say that because there's so many where we think that we're in an echo chamber where we're just talking to people in California or we're talking to people in the United States, and on the other side of it, the other narrative, we say we have this like them versus us, right, in terms of marketing and branding and who we are, right? But in reality, we're representations. We're like ambassadors right now because we're the faces, the voices. We are, when people see me in, I don't know, anywhere outside the US, they're seeing
your global brand
product. Yes,
you're your global brand. Here's the other thing that's so different from 2004 to 2020. And when I speak from stages, keynotes, and workshops, and it's such a big part of my brand builder boot camp, is it's about your story. And today's world, people have to understand that your vulnerability becomes your credibility in today's world, right? So when you're willing to be vulnerable, when you're willing to show up in that way, you connect at such a deeper level that 2020, 21, 22 people insist, right? And if not, you become invisible too. And that's one of the things I love to teach and share is how to weave your personal stories with real world content along with social proof. And I think when you can master that weaving, you write your own check in your industry. I don't care what industry it is. That your signature story is you. And so many people are so terrified to share that and feel vulnerable. And like my introduction, when I get introduced on a keynote on stages, is Dave Daly, the Monster Motivator, built and sold 3 companies in 3 different industries, and also crashed one to the ground, right? I have to tell event planners and I highlight it. I say, make sure you say I crashed onto the ground,
Yes.
because that's where I'm going to start, right? And at the end of the day, when we get the Q&A, not every single person, but so many people want to know about that business that I crashed to the ground versus the 3 that I built and sold, right? Because so talk about that. Talk about how powerful your signature story is.
Oh my God. So I'm starting this platform. It's called the Starter Model Guide, right? This is different from my product model, which I'll talk about. But it's called the Starter Model Guide. And the reason why I'm starting it is because so many girls and guys are lost about how to get started in the modeling industry. And mainly that's because there's a lot of fallacies about gatekeepers, how to get started, and who to trust, and like,
the trust,
how much do you really make? How much do you really make, right? What's, the abuse, the sexual assault, like all the shit that happens behind the scenes. And I was like, well, I get emailed a lot every day about, modeling stuff and pageant stuff, but a lot about modeling stuff and how do I get discovered? How do I get an agent? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm kind of like, you know what? Fuck all that stuff. This is why. First of all, agents are gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are becoming dinosaurs. They don't exist anymore. They're not necessary anymore. You need to learn how to be a business person and how to manage and mold and market your image. You need to understand the dynamics of this industry and what brands look for, what the casting directors and the brands and the advertising agencies and the people that you're marketing to, what they're looking for. And not because you need to fit into a mold, but because you need to figure out how to deliver them something that's new, but not too new that they say no. Right? You need to figure out what that is. And you need to figure out like billing, how many castings you need to go to before you get a booking. So what your booking ratio is, all the dynamics of everything, the marketing, the money, blah, 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 blah. And I thought about this because, like I said, I get so many emails and questions and like from how to start to this happened to me and how do I figure this out, or I haven't gotten paid from this person. And that's a big issue in our industry is how do I get paid, and I start with telling my story, right? So I was never the it girl, right? I grew up in the 80s. I started modeling in the 90s. And back then it was blonde hair, blue-eyed bombshell or heroin chic, right? If you remember Kate Moss, right? And so I was always, the commercial print biracial mixed girl, right? And so when they didn't want to pick a black girl, they wanted something halfway or whatever. So I was always that girl. And very early, I left my agency and I figured out how to go and market myself. And I went from door to door, from showroom to showroom with my comp cards. I made my own comp cards. I started shooting my own pictures and I started marketing myself, going direct, right? And I continued my career that way pretty much till this day. And a lot of people always ask, like, well, who reps you? Well, I do everything in-house. Well, how does that work? And you need an agent, and you need this, and you need that. I don't trust anyone to advocate for me more than I can advocate for myself, number one. Agents are in the business to make money as well, number two. So they're going to go about it the easiest, simplest way they can. And what they know is blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'11", size 0, and I am none of those things. Well, I have blonde hair, but I'm none of those things. Okay, and they're not going to take the time to do the work that it takes to make me marketable to somebody else, right? No one is going to take that time except for me. And I had to learn that very early on, which is how I came up with my product model, which is the book part of the book that I just wrote. And so one of my businesses is I sell productized services to e-commerce brands. So we're talking about where things are going in 2020. Yeah. And so all these e-commerce businesses that are popping up, everyone that's doing drop shipping and selling on eBay and Amazon, side hustle and that stuff, they need images, and they need images that are alternatives to the stock photos that the manufacturers send them of the clothing on the models, because it doesn't necessarily register with their audience. So for example, if your major demographic is urban women, and you've got an Asian model that looks like it came straight out the factory in China, that is not meshing with your audience, right? And so you need to reshoot those images so that they can speak to your audience, right? Your target demographic. So for example, all that stuff that Fashion Nova, you know, you've heard of Fashion Nova, everything they do, that's all from China, from the same factories. All that stuff comes, they reshoot all the content, right, on models that represent their target demographic, right? And then they put it on their website and do the social media and all that other stuff. And so basically we do that for e-commerce brands. And a lot of them are new businesses that are just getting into the e-commerce space. You know, they're new on Etsy and Shopify and you know, Amazon listings and all of that stuff. So I wrote an ebook. It's called My Product Model Success Guide for Photos. And that's what you saw on my LinkedIn. Yep. And it basically deconstructs what it takes to create good photos for social media, for e-commerce, for Instagram, for Etsy, like all the different platforms that have image requirements. Like Amazon requires that, you know, that first photo to be all in white, and the product has to take up like 3/4 of the space. And so, but you also have to figure out how to differentiate your garlic press from everybody else's garlic press, for example. And so that's what we do. And I wrote that book to help people understand why that process is so important, and ultimately why they should hire us and not try to do it themselves.
I love it. I love it. And let's see here, Brazen Influencers. What is that?
Yeah, so Brazen Influencers. So we started off as an agency. So this is an example.
I love the name.
Thank you.
I love the name.
Thank you. So this is an interesting example of a pivot, or fuck it. We didn't like it. It wasn't working. Right. So we started off as an agency that basically did influencer management, onboarding and management for brands. Okay. And what I learned very early on in the first like 6 months is that, number one, it sucks. There's going to be so many people in the market space that it's going to become saturated, and eventually it's going to be like being a social media manager. And except for, you know, you have someone that you pay $12, ultimately about $12 an hour to manage your Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then you're going to have someone that manages your influencers and does the admin work for influencer marketing campaigns and stuff like that. The churn is really high. So the average client churns in 3 months, 90 days. And you're always chasing your next client. And the same thing with a lot of these advertising agencies, like some of the biggest ones, Hawk Media, I won't say, sorry. Their churn is actually every 3 months, wow. High turnover. So clients don't stick. And the reason being is because you learn everything you need to learn in 3 months, and then you can bring it in-house. Yeah. And that's the problem with the agency model across the board, is that you outsource it for like 6 months, 3 months, 3 to 6 months, and then you hire someone to just do it in-house. It can be a one-person job if you're paying them enough. And so what we ended up doing was pivoting to a platform for influencers where it's like a community, so a professional community where we offer support, friendship, right? Because a lot of influencers are working in isolation. Like me now, I'm in isolation, no one's here, and I have to shoot a bunch of content. And if you're doing this every day, it gets kind of lonely. You're not sure if you're doing the right things. Even if you could be really successful, you could not be really successful, but there's always industry trade knowledge to share. There's always different things to develop. There's collaboration. There's learning what to do with all the money that you're making from YouTube, right? It's basically like, I don't want to say like a course, because I think selling a course on how to be an influencer is very 2017. There's a lot of people doing it, but it is a community, that professional community that supports and shares and educates other influencers, other professionals in that space. And the reason why I pivoted to that is because I kept going to events. First of all, I get isolated being by myself all day, and constantly being in front of a ring light or cameras making content. And being on sets, like as a model, it's a very lonely world. And so I borrowed that from the modeling world, knowing that you can be months by yourself and just having very transactional relationships with clients and on sets and on shoots. And at the end of the night, you're by yourself, and no one really understands what you're going through or how you feel, because no one else is doing this, right? And other models are worried about being your friends because they're worried about taking stuff from you, taking clients from them, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing applies in the influencer world. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is the same kind of dynamic. And there needs to be something that can bring, a community together, and where if you're having problems, you can have a soundboard, right? Not your Instagram boyfriend, because he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's just trying to take your pictures, right?
Right.
Not your mother, because everything you do is going to be perfect and great, and nothing you can do, and all your pictures are going to be gorgeous because, you know, that's your mom. But somebody that is also in the space and understands what you're going through, but is also logical and rational and not like bad shit, right? And so like I wanted to put together this community to do that. And so we started on Meetup, and I put together a couple of Meetup groups, and one to help people that are already established in the space, and one to help people that are getting into the space. So they're just learning like how to do face-to-camera content and what a ring light is and all that other stuff. And so,
Love it.
And then we brought them together under a membership base on their website, and that's still evolving. And, you know, we're still trial and error, figuring stuff out. And we plan on like producing a lot of content that like from, you know, ebooks to downloadables and video content and stuff like that. And I'll see how it goes. And if I need to like pivot again and figure something else out, or change as the industry changes, as it evolves as well, because this industry is just kind of like changing, like every 6 months to a year. It's
wild.
It's different because tools and technology, you know. The thing is that'll never change is that you can't replace people. And we are still so far from replacing people and replacing emotion and contextual like expressions, right? AI can't do that, right? We still need each other to engage and honestly to sell. And so these kind of jobs, these kind of roles will be around for a very long time. Even if everyone else is doing it, there will always be an economy of people selling shit because every person does it differently, right? And
1000%. And here's the other thing that you talked about that I definitely want to make sure we touch on in today's economy, 2020, 21, 22, is the power and the importance and the must, if you want to succeed, you have to figure out how to collaborate. You have to figure, like, and one of the things that I talk about from stage and with clients is what we're doing right now, right? Podcast, just simple podcast that you find the podcast that has your audience, you get on those podcasts. Now, not only are you in front of that audience, but now you can repurpose this and it becomes evergreen in so many different ways. It's just the podcast alone. And I tell people, man, if you even have a little inkling, start your own podcast. That's, because you're giving, right? When you connect with people, you have a giving hand. You're not asking for anything. Hey, would you like to be on my show? I think you might be a great guest, right? I think collaboration, affiliate marketing, everything that has to do with I think collaboration is between story, your signature story, how to weave that, and collaboration. That's the key, I think, to succeed in the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah,
honestly, I do too. I think I was just listening to who was it? Ryan Holiday, I think. He's got like a new book out or something, but he's on a podcast and he's talking about how, like, you know, the experts, you know, there used to be this like barrier of like experts and then everyone else, and the experts got everything. And now expert, you know, there's no problem with the word. People get caught up on words, and I'm not one that does, right? I don't care what you call yourself, an influencer, an expert, an authority figure. It doesn't really matter to me, right? But because the words change with time, right? And what trends, you know, there was a time like in 2004, I started using entrepreneur, right? Nobody was using fucking entrepreneur. Nobody was using entrepreneur. And I sounded like such a dick because I even had that shit on my website. I did. And people were like, what? Like, but that's just who I was, right? I was just, And now, you know, the same damn people are walking around like, I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm like, Yeah, you know. I was using that shit in 2004.
Remember when? And here's the other thing that you touched on that's so vitally important when we're talking about videos and we're talking about sharing your story and becoming vulnerable is so many people are terrified because the book I wrote is called Fearless is Bullshit, right?
Uh-huh.
We're
that's very true.
because we're brought up to think that if you feel fear, you must be broke. But fear is a real feeling, like love, like anger.
It's a real feeling.
Facing that fear, getting on the other side of that, and becoming courageous. And one of the things that you said, you know, you put entrepreneur back in 2004, and people were like, "The fuck? What? What is that?" Like, who? But what people have to understand.
Nobody uses that word anymore, young lady.
But here's the key to what you said and how you said it is. And I share this all the time because there's so many fear barriers out there, but the biggest one, it maps to every issue that everyone has. It maps back to the fear of what other people think. And I tell people, I'm going to give you a hack on how to crush that. So my title is not Fearless is Bullshit, and the subtitle is, let me teach you how to get your lunch money back from that bully. Because the biggest bully in life is fear, right? The fear barrier. So I tell people, if you're afraid of what other people think, here's how you hack that. First of all, we're human beings. We judge, I judge, you judge. That's reality, right? I'm judged on a daily basis.
Yep.
Your only job is to make them accurate.
My only job is to do what?
Make them accurate. So here's what I mean. You ready? So check this out. People are terrified of being judged, right? Now, when I have my sport, I still, to this day, me and my dog hear it all the time, right? When someone first meets us and then they get to know us, we hear the same thing all the time. God, you're so much nicer than we thought, right? I'm judged all the time on my appearance.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. My only job is to make them accurate. So when they do leave there and they say either out loud or to themselves, man, he's so much nicer than I thought. My only job is to make him accurate. And when you can adopt that mindset, it takes all the pressure off.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true.
It's just, we judge.
Yeah, we judge. We do.
Judge all the time.
We get judged all the time. And
we get judged and we judge.
Yes, we do. I'm judgy.
Yep,
I tell people all the time, like, I don't hide it. I'm judgy. And as a female, as a woman, we are extra judgy, right? And I am extra judgy, you know, and I don't even apologize. I'm like, I'm judging. Yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Right.
You know, that's kind of what we do.
Right.
And then move on. I mean,
right. And they're gonna prove you right or prove you wrong.
Yeah, I could be wrong. And it's fine. And it's absolutely fine. Like, I don't want to be, if I'm judging negatively, I don't necessarily want to be right.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, because I just confirmed something negative.
Yes.
Right. So I love when I think something is going to go very wrong and I'm judging it or the person. And then I realize, oh, I was wrong. It's actually, they were really nice.
What a great feeling. What a great, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets rid of the anxiety and the crap that builds up.
It does. That that toxic energy.
Yeah.
1,000%. So that's so important in today's world, is being able to get past that fear barrier and letting that stop you, that judgment. Because we're all going to judge. We judge every day. We get judged every day. It's who we are. It's what we do. And that's human beings, right? Yep. Get over it. Move forward. And do your thing, and do it in your flavor. That's my thing. You got to do it in your flavor. And I love that. True. Yes. So we're both, and I believe nothing happens by accident. So today's economy, today's business world, today's personal and business branding, we are both perfectly built for it, right?
Yes.
Video, audio, bring it. Yep. Turn it on. It's when people are like, when I go to events and they're like, hey, can you give us a testimonial? And then they start to go before they turn the camera on. And then here's what we do. I go, just turn it on. Just go. Turn it on. Let's go. Let's go. And they go, what? I go, come on, let's go. You know, or when I do the show, people are like, what questions? I go, we're just gonna bro out. We're
Yeah,
just gonna,
yeah.
we're just,
I didn't ask you what questions or anything.
No.
I'm like, in some podcasts, you know, I've been doing a lot of interviews lately because of the book and stuff. And so some podcasts, you know, they have like a pre-interview session or questionnaire, and that's fine. I'm cool with it. And some of the people that I've interviewed with, you know, it's been actually really refreshing because I get a taste of their personality beforehand. Right. And so, like, I know what to expect. But generally, I trust myself enough to know that once it starts, like, no matter what, I'm going to perform pretty well. You know, it's going to go pretty smoothly.
It's actually going to go perfectly because you're going to do it in your flavor. And like, exactly. And I have people ask me too, do we do a I go, I don't have time. No. Here we go. Book it. Let's do it. If not, no worries. We move on. Because for me too, it keeps my attention, right? It keeps me in the conversation. I'm not trying to read like what question, and then I just want to flow. I just want to flow because now there's no box, right? Yes. I can't have a box. It's impossible. Yeah,
and that's true. I think now, and here's the thing. Now, because there's no box, right? There's no gatekeepers. There's no box. There's no anything. I mean, you have this device that literally I'm talking to you on my iPhone, and I carry it around, you know, Zoom, I'll carry it around all the time. So many people, because they have to face themselves and they have to face their fear, right, are going to have such a hard time getting in front of the camera and talking, right, and doing what they want to do. I had this client at one time, client/partner one time in Fallbrook, and this woman wanted to be a singer.
That's where I live.
Oh, really?
Scared of me, yeah.
We'll have to talk afterwards. I don't want to put their names out there.
That's wild.
I'm pretty sure you know who they are.
Oh, okay.
And once I tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's a singer-songwriter, and she owns a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
So, and, you know, she wanted to be a singer-songwriter her whole life. And so when I met her, somebody introduced us. This is going back like over 10 years ago. When I met her, she's like, I write these children's songs and I want to make these characters and talk to the children and this, that, and the other. You know, we created, as I produced this thing, we created the perfect opportunity for her to do this. And, you know, the day of the shoot, she drank all damn day. We got we got kids, and, you know, we got a kid, we did the whole thing, the whole scripting, the set design, the everything. And then, you know, we really just like watched her flush it down the drain. Like, she shot the whole thing drunk and, you know, on wine. She didn't work on her lines beforehand. And so, you know, what ended up being, you know, maybe 3 takes ended up being like 15, you know, and I realized that, I think that's when I really learned the lesson that you can give someone the opportunity and you can give them all the tools that you have. And if they cannot face themselves, they're not going to use them. And that was a real wake-up call for me to see that, like, somebody flush like everything. And they were really good at writing music and specifically writing like children's songs. And nothing ever came of it, you know? And then when it didn't exist, when it didn't come to existence, she blamed everybody else around her for why her dream as a singer-songwriter didn't come true.
It's self-sabotage, right? Because she wanted an excuse. She wanted an out, right?
Yes.
That was her out. And you brought something else up that I want people to know in today's world, especially when we're talking about Instagram, right? Everyone looks at others like, man, they're so much further ahead, or they got their shit together, or they're perfect. And I'm telling you firsthand that some huge, successful, multi 8-9-figure earners have podcasts, speak from stages, high-level comedians talk about needing to do a shot or two before they go on, needing to take that edge off. Now, I'm not judging, right? I don't care either way. I don't need to do that. That's just not my thing. But the reason I'm bringing that up is for people that are second guessing whether or not they can do it. When you look at these people that look so successful, but they still need something to before they turn that camera on.
Yes.
That's just some more ammo for people that are wondering, do I have it in me? Can I do it? Don't think for a second that these people got it together behind the scenes because they got a big bank account or because they got huge followers, right? And also kudos for them by sharing that because they know how important the vulnerability is. Like,
especially comedians. Yeah, especially comedians. You know, there's a lot of comedians that, especially comedians. I mean, I'll tell you, like, you know, I'm not a drinker, but I love coffee. And I love a good shot of espresso before an interview, which tells you what I was doing right before I got on with you, right? Luckily, you know, I have the metabolism and I drink a lot of water. I don't drink a lot of different various fluids. So I'm like Malcolm Gladwell in this, where I drink like 5 liquids: coffee, water, or espresso, water, almond milk, because that goes in my espresso, right? Kombucha occasionally, and what would be the third one? And tea. Like, it's pretty, I don't drink outside of that. That's it. Right. And people are like, wow, that's all you drink? Those are all the things I drink? Yeah. I mean, I really don't have time in my life to fit any other liquids in. Like, I drink 3 liters of water a day. I have 2 almond lattes a day, that one normally I buy, one I make. And if I'm lucky, I'll get an extra espresso somewhere, you know, that'll like really make my day. And, you know, in the summertime, I like kombucha and then the tea, you know, and then almond milk, I only drink in my coffee. So that's like a 2 for 1, right? But I have very limited, you know, my liquid diversity and my fluid diversity is not that much. So that's my thing. That's my jam. And I have a little shot of espresso, or I chew an espresso bean before like an interview, or which is kind of funny, but before an interview or before like a big thing. I recently discovered, this sounds so lame, but I recently discovered edibles, and so I take like a sativia chocolate covered espresso bean, which is kind of like it's not indica, so it doesn't like make you sleepy. It actually like kind of just makes you a little
more alert.
And so before big events, especially if I've been doing a lot of events throughout the week, or like it's holiday season, so there's a lot of parties and stuff like that, then I'll have one of those, and then I'm good. You know, but it's not like I can still walk, talk, and wave, and I can go running, I can go work out and everything. But yeah, I mean, that's the most. But when you are drinking to the point where, unless you're a comedian, I think this is an exception, to where your words are slurring together, you can't remember your lines. You know, it's like where, and then recently, the reason why I remember this so acutely is because I was recently showing the trailer video that I made for this person to my boyfriend, and I was like, yeah, you know, this was such a great project, and the little girl, the kids were so great, and I was really showing it to him to show him the costuming the costume designer had made, because it was phenomenal, the costume designer, and I was talking about this clam head, and I showed him the video, and he goes, "Was that lady drunk?" And I was like, oh shit, I had told him nothing else. And I was like, is that obvious? He goes, yeah, she's terrible. And then I was like, oh my God.
It's self-sabotage. It's right. It's and look, if doing a shot of alcohol kind of takes that edge off for you, God bless you, right? If that works for you, so it's funny. I always tell people, I said, I'm as boring as you can get. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't gamble, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I love life. It sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, but I am high on life. I love it. I feel blessed. And so 2020, I'm so pumped for 2020. It's going to be so much fun.
Me too. I'm happy to get out of this decade. it's been half good, half a shit show.
But
And
learning.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I'm ready to do
Yep.
something else.
Yep.
You know, to move on from
That's
this. Yeah, and then
Love
and
it.
you know, I'm really excited for where the digital space is going.
Yeah.
And also like shedding. I think it's a good time to like hit the go button in a different way. You know, like you kind of like have things, if you have things that are on the shelf that you were planning to get to in the last couple of years and you didn't, and now's a good time to move forward.
I believe it is. Right now is always the right time. That's the way I look at it. Just do it now.
Do it
is
now.
there anything that we didn't talk, that I didn't mention or talk about, that you want to mention?
Oh, let's see. Well, if you're, yes, I would like to share with your audience that they can go, if they're starting an e-commerce site or thinking about starting an e-commerce site or selling on Amazon, they can go to myproductmodel.com. There is an offer for the book, the My Product Model Success Guide.
And we're going to put all that in the notes.
Yes.
So we're going to put your links in the notes.
Okay, perfect.
Section. Yes.
Yes.
So this is going to be on every Stitcher, every platform you could think of, and YouTube.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to give you like all of my links.
Yes.
And
give me all the links. You're going to get, like we talked about. Let me, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you got value out of this show. It was electric. The energy was just right here. Please share it. Jump on any platform that you listen or watch a podcast on. We are there. We're not hard to find. And we are definitely building our YouTube channel. So go in, subscribe, share, comment, and we will have all of Daisi's stuff in the notes section on our YouTube channel. So I'm excited. Guys, thanks so much. And as always, brand loyalty is king because it maps the trust.